Oregon education has long been a source of hope.
The first time since the pandemic where we've seen overall average gains in English language arts and math and science.
But recent test scores reveal deep cracks.
So we have double-digit gains we need to make.
It is embarrassing to see Oregon's results in terms of where we stand in our nation.
Over the next half hour, we examine what needs to change to set Oregon students up for success.
Oregon has one of the shortest school years in the country.
There are signs of hope emerging in some of Oregon's youngest students, and some recent initiatives are showing progress.
And I don't see any reason why what we have done to change outcomes here couldn't be replicated any other place.
What's going on behind the numbers? Can we course correct before the next generation pays?
Well, I want to read because my teacher helps me break it down into tinier steps so I can do it easier and get techniques.
What have other states done to rebound after COVID-19?
First, we still have a long ways to go to rebound after the pandemic. Other states have for their children, and Oregon still has not.
And what can we learn from our neighbor state to the north, Washington?
Our students outperform their peers across the country.
As Oregon in particular continues to struggle, it is a long road to recovery. There's a mix of good and bad news when it comes to the state of education in Oregon. While the latest statewide student test scores show slight improvement, Oregon continues to trail most of the nation, specifically in reading and math, all adding up for a long road to recovery. In schools all across Oregon, plenty of kids fill the classrooms, but are they learning what they're supposed to? According to the latest test scores from the Oregon Department of Education, for most of them, the answer is no. Fewer than half of students are considered proficient in English or math. It is a sobering reality for Sarah Pope, an education advocate with Stand for Children.
We still have a long ways to go to rebound after the pandemic. Other states have for their children, and Oregon still has not.
Students are still on average about 10 percentage points behind where they were in 2019 in many subjects. State leaders say COVID accelerated an already declining system.
We're still not at pre-pandemic levels, and we weren't satisfied with where we were.
Dan Farley, Oregon's assistant superintendent for research, recently shared the state data and says there is reason for hope.
Are the first time since the pandemic where we've seen overall average gains in English language arts and math and science.
The gains are small. Math to 31.5%, science to 30%, and English language arts proficiency edged up to about 43%. And while most grade levels made modest gains, 4th and 5th graders lost ground in all 3 subjects. From a national perspective, Oregon ranks in the bottom 10 states in both 4th and 8th grade reading and math. According to the National Assessment of Educational Progress, some argue it's because kids aren't in class.
And so we have a lot of kids that are missing far too much school. And our state has taken a really hands-off approach on attendance.
According to Oregon's most recent statewide report card, 38% of K-12 students are considered chronically absent. That means missing 10% or more of school days, compared to 23% nationally. Educators believe chronic absenteeism and the lingering effects of remote learning continue to hold students back, especially in younger grades. In 2019, Oregon ranked 41st in the nation. Today, it's 47th, according to the National Assessment of Educational Progress. Graduation rates, however, have increased to 81.8%, which many point to the expansion of career and technical education programs. Leaders say progress is happening, but rebuilding student achievement statewide could take years. In Portland, the state's largest district, with more than 44,000 students in 81 schools, the district edged out statewide averages. 55.4% of students are proficient in English and language arts, 46.4% in math, and 40.3% in science. Portland Public Schools Superintendent Dr. Kimberly Armstrong is proud of the progress.
Yeah, so we do have a lot of work to do. We know that it's important to pause and celebrate some of those wins that are because of the work of our teachers, our staff in schools and in classrooms.
Oregon's education department says it will take years to recover fully from the pandemic, but these small gains are a sign that the state's long climb back may finally be underway. And while progress is gradual, Armstrong says the goal is clear.
I will say that I stand before you waiting and hoping for that day when we can talk about 10 to 15% growth, or when we're talking about 100% of our students achieving.
Dr. Charlene Williams has been at the helm of the Oregon Department of Education for 2 years. She walked into one of the biggest challenges of her career to pull Oregon up from near the bottom of national rankings. I sat down with her to find out what her frustrations are and why she believes Oregon is in the process of turning the tide. Oregon's Director of Education, Dr. Charlene Williams, doesn't shy away from the road ahead of her, especially when reacting to recent test scores for Oregon students.
It shows we have a lot of work to do.
She understands the challenge, but sees a glimmer of hope.
I'm not satisfied with the growth that we've had, but I am encouraged that we're moving in the right direction.
Talk of COVID continues to linger as an excuse for many, but not with Dr. Williams. She recognizes Oregon was already underperforming before the pandemic.
And so COVID came along and did what it did everywhere else. It amplified that. It amplified that we had plenty of work to do.
Her plan moving forward for success is based on 3 pillars. She believes it's the foundation for improvement: academic excellence, belonging and wellness, and third, accountability.
And then what happens when we miss the mark? If there's a district or a school not necessarily meeting, how do we as a department provide the support and guidance needed and work alongside the school and the community to help improve those outcomes?
There are plenty of areas she wants to see improve, but top of her list include graduation rates, math achievement, attendance, and ELA outcomes. Dr. Williams has her eye on how other states have flipped the outcomes. Mississippi, for example, was ranked 50th in the nation according to the National Assessment of Education Progress a decade ago. In a stunning reversal today, it's ranked 9th. Oregon remains 47th. Their formula was to transform early literacy from the ground up.
Would you like to see more time in the classroom?
100%. Oregon has one of the shortest school years in the country. And I was up in Washington for a while and noticed that students in Washington get almost an additional school year when we compare hours. So after they leave our system and graduate, our Oregon children literally are short an entire school year, which impacts the ability to move that ranking the way that we know that it needs to move.
Adding instructional hours or days would require legislative approval. Dr. Williams says student success requires buy-in from everyone.
Yes. You know what would really help is for everyone to lean in. This isn't the department's issue alone. This isn't a teacher's issue alone, or a superintendent, or even the legislature.
Dr. Williams compared the classroom education time in Washington. Oregon and Washington are divided by the Columbia River, but how divided are we in the classroom? Student success in Washington is improving.
Our students outperform their peers across the country.
A bold statement from State Superintendent Chris Reichtel. He points to student test scores from the spring in math and English that are the best they've been in quite some time.
Our students are performing, pretty consistently at or above the national average in all of the metrics that are national, and we'll have data for that. Scores improved this year.
Washington ranks 2nd in English and 4th in math out of 12 states that use the same test vendor. It's an accomplishment the state boasts. 71% of students met grade level standards in English and 63% in math. Although the numbers appear to be positive and show Washington students are outperforming their peers, not everyone is singing the same praises, specifically comparing scores to pre-COVID numbers. Do you feel like the gap is closing?
That, unfortunately, is not part of the change that we're seeing. So while we do see a gap closing between where we were generally before the pandemic and where we are now, so there's still a gap. We're still not pre-pandemic levels.
Dr. Soleil Boyd is the director of the Children's Alliance of Washington, a nonpartisan statewide child advocacy organization. She believes some students are being left behind.
So we know we need to do more to close those gaps so that every student has access to, the resources they need to do well, not only on these assessments, but just in general and in school.
She would like to see the state match resources to the students. National and global trends show reading and math scores have been declining for more than a decade. The superintendent wants to get ahead of that trend with a budget proposal for a statewide pilot program to buy AI tutoring tools for math instruction and teacher training for kindergarten through 8th grade.
This year, we're going to seek a $10 million request from the legislature as a down payment on this. I know the legislature has difficult financial times, but this is basic education. This is the future of our kids. This is the future of our economy. We cannot live in a country or a state where a bunch of adults and a bunch of kids walk around and just say, you know what, I'm just not a math person.
Coming up, fixing education outcomes from the ground up. We visit a demonstration school chosen to highlight what's working in Oregon education. Let's take a look now at one of the biggest challenges facing Oregon education, and that's making sure every child knows how to read by the 3rd grade. At schools all across the state, they're putting research into practice through the Early Literacy Initiative, a focused way of teaching the science of reading. And at this elementary school in McMinnville, the results are already changing lives. It could serve as a model for the rest of the state. In classrooms across Oregon, a quiet revolution in reading is underway.
Right now, I want you to listen. I'm going to chop the sounds, and then I want you to tell me what the word is.
At Sue Buell Elementary in McMinnville, teachers are transforming how children learn to read.
Good.
One sound,
This is hard.
It is hard, but you can do it.
one syllable at a time.
You ready? D, a, n, den. Yeah, so the science of reading, we teach really explicit hands-on with the kids, learning spelling patterns, phonemic awareness, phonics.
For 2nd grader Caspian, he loves learning to read.
It's because it gives me information about stuff and it helps me grow my brain.
It is a much-needed goal across the state of Oregon. The majority of students are not considered proficient readers. Carly Knaus teaches a blended 1st and 2nd grade class. Like hundreds of Oregon teachers, she's recently been trained in the science of reading, a research-based approach that focuses on the building blocks of literacy, sounds, spelling patterns, and decoding. Here's 2nd grader Peyton explaining it.
Like if we can't get the word correctly, like we spell it out.
So for example, in my class, we're doing digraphs right now. So they're learning TH, CH, SH, and when they know what sounds those letters make, then when they see it in a book, they're able to decode it and read it and know it every single time.
Like in reading big words, like because, we break it down into little words like be and cuz.
Within the last 2 years, the state has provided resources, research-aligned materials, and grants to schools to strengthen instruction, such as high-dosage tutoring. The goal, to ensure all children read and write by the end of elementary school.
I feel really confident sending the kids up to the upper grades knowing that they are able to read and take their time on reading a word and not just guessing, and they're able to use the strategies that we've taught them so they can apply that in all aspects of learning.
That shift is part of Oregon's Early Literacy Initiative, passed by the Oregon legislature in 2023. Sue Buell is one of a handful of schools chosen across the state to be a demonstration school. Courtney Bradley is the literacy specialist at this elementary.
And when I first came to Buell, we were around 60% of kids who were even passing. So then we had that 40% that were sitting there and not having the skills ready to move on. And now, last year, we were at 98% passing.
She says the results are dramatic. Gone are the days of waiting for months after the new school year starts to begin interventions.
So there used to be a big belief that kindergartners weren't ready for things.
Within weeks of the school year, kindergartners are assessed and grouped based on their skill level.
So kids who already know all their letters and sounds are working on being able to read words, whereas our kids who maybe don't know any letters and sounds are then working on, this is a letter.
The approach is clear and consistent, explicit, systematic instruction. Even the kids are noticing. Just ask 2nd grader Alex.
You can learn to read like doing phonics, and you learn how to spell hot words and learn words.
Yes, we do know from research though that what we're doing now, which is explicit instruction, which means that instead of just saying, what do you think that word is? Or look at that first letter of the word and take a guess. We now know that really most kids' brains learn to read with repeated explicit practice of things like A spells A.
And the proof is in the progress. Erin Caldwell is the principal of Sue Buell.
So we were one of the lower performing schools for reading in our district.
2 years ago, Sue Buell was considered at the bottom in the McMinnville district.
So when we got the early literacy initiative funding that came through, we did a lot of training for all of our K-1-2 teachers to teach them about the science of reading and new instructional practices.
A spells good.
Now data shows significant gains. The biggest shift is happening in kindergarten, first and second.
And if you look at that, you'll notice that the red band are kids that are more at risk for reading difficulties. And about 60% of our kindergartners are coming in at risk right now. But if you look at our second grade group, who's had the foundational skills for 2 years, we only have 15% right now, I believe 15 or 18% that was at risk, which is the lowest I've seen since I've been here.
The work here is part of a larger vision championed by McMinnville School District Superintendent Dr. Courtney Farua.
It is embarrassing to see Oregon's results in terms of where we stand in our nation.
She helped pick Sue Buell to watch the process work.
And one of the reasons why we selected this school as a demonstration network, part of the demonstration network, is because if we can do it here, we are proving to the state that we can do it anywhere.
She says the initiative's focus on early, evidence-based instruction can help close Oregon's persistent achievement gaps.
And the cheapest thing we do is to intervene early, because if you can prevent the achievement gap from happening, if you can give students the really solid foundation of skills, then every door is open to them as they move through our system.
For students, the results speak for themselves.
Well, I learned to read because my teacher helped me break it down into tinier steps so I can do it easier and get techniques.
For Principal Caldwell, the goal is simple but powerful.
That I want 100% of our kids to leave us being able to have basic reading skills that they cannot only decode, but that they learn to love reading.
From phonics lessons to confident readers, the transformation happening in Oregon classrooms is proof that when science meets teaching, literacy grows. For Oregon's youngest learners, this is just the beginning.
Because I'm in second grade, so I'm gonna learn more and read more.
What's your favorite kind of book? Can you explain what kind of books you like to read?
Dog Man and Cat Kid Comic Club.
Coming up, we hear from the advocacy group behind the Early Literacy Initiative, Stand for Children, what they say needs to happen to see educational success in Oregon. Oregon students are slowly climbing back from the deep learning losses of the pandemic, but critics argue the recovery isn't happening fast enough. What's working? What's still holding us back? And what programs are lighting the way for the future of education in Oregon? In classrooms across Oregon, from Portland to Pendleton, innovation is reshaping how kids learn. Targeted literacy programs, new teaching models, high-dosage tutoring, and summer learning, all helping students catch up and in some cases move ahead.
When school administrators and principals and teachers understand their research and are supported to change their practices to align to that research, and then kids get more time, be it through the summer or through tutoring, that everybody does better.
Nonprofit education advocate Stand for Children says these models show promise, but ensuring it's working statewide can still be a challenge.
What we see often is the challenge here in Oregon, that it's sort of left up to every school or every district to figure it out on their own. And the states that are making the biggest gains are much more consistent from school to school and district to district.
Inconsistency, experts say, is one reason why Oregon continues to lag behind neighboring states like Washington and California, where time spent in the classroom is longer and expectations are clearer.
The states that we're seeing making the biggest gains have really focused with clear expectations, with clear guidance, with clear accountability and supports. And the states that do that time and time again, Their teachers respond and their kids respond.
And there's another key difference, attendance.
The data is really clear that if you're not in school, it's really hard to become a strong reader. And so we have a lot of kids that are missing far too much school.
To accelerate recovery, advocates are calling for strong statewide leadership and smart investments, even as budgets tighten.
The funding is critically important. Without the funding, we cannot ensure that every child is getting the same instruction. We have to be able to keep our teachers trained on best practices.
Still in supported classrooms, there's hope. Teachers say blended learning, technology with safeguards, and peer mentorship are proving powerful tools, but sustainability will depend on statewide coordination.
When states focus their resources and then focus their guidance and then hold our schools accountable and also provide support, we see kids and teachers respond in really positive ways. So we do need to do more of that in Oregon.
After years of setbacks, Oregon's first small gains in reading and math offer a glimpse of progress, but the path forward will take collaboration, commitment, and courage to change a willingness to continue the momentum. Oregon's education system is at a crossroads, facing real challenges, but there are statewide efforts taking shape to rebuild. The Early Literacy Initiative may be one step on the pathway to recovery. We know the road won't be easy, but Oregon's education story is still being written, one classroom at a time.